They are in riot gear, 3 deep. There is a mounted unit here as well. So this is a situation where we are right now. Crowds like this have been gathering throughout various points in the city. So it's quite interesting to see the way the streets have been going. A lot of these people here are just sort of onlookers. The actual protesters don't number quite as much as you'd think, but it's quite interesting to see what exactly is happening and transpiring for now. So far the police haven't made any action or any move to the crowd. It's been pretty much just a bit of a standoff between the police and the crowd as we speak.
Stephen, try to give us a hint in terms of that crowd that you're standing in the midst of. You know, we've seen for the most part this afternoon those taking the more aggressive stance are those in the full black garb. Are they at this spot, or is this mainly the other kind of demonstrators who've been for the most part peaceful today, or is it a mix of both?
These are the elements here. The people here, for the most part, have been peaceful. I haven't seen any of those darker elements, we could call them, so anarchists or the black bloc. So for the most part, the people here that you see around me are not covering their face. They're not all dressed in black. They haven't been causing a lot of problems. There's actually, you can probably just sort of hear me talking over a gentleman on a megaphone who's just making some comments about the police that have been quite funny actually in the last few minutes. And so it's a bit of a light atmosphere here for the most part, but we haven't really seen those dangerous elements. But coming here on the way here, we have seen the aftermath of those elements as they've moved through the city. We've seen graffiti on the walls of buildings. We've seen broken windows, post office boxes thrown to the ground. In fact, a few of our own CBC vehicles with windows smashed. My colleague Michael Dick had a brick thrown through the window of one of his vehicles. So definitely the remnants of their actions can be seen throughout the city. But for now, where we are right now, this is, for the most part, a peaceful demonstration.
I know that throughout this afternoon you've been watching closely the way the police have been trying to deal with this situation. You know, there are various terms one can use on a day like this. The police being very aggressive, the police using a measured response, the police standing back. What have you been witnessing?
Actually, Peter, it's interesting. It's a combination of all three of those things you just mentioned, because in some instances I have seen a measured response, but in other cases we have seen them push back. There were crowds where there were people simply drumming and chanting, yet at the same time on the police side of the line there were 5 officers deep in riot gear with their gas masks on, with the rubber bullet guns were at the ready. So it's hard to say exactly, to give an overall view, because the responses have differed depending on the situation. In one instance earlier today, we saw the police in a line, and we saw a bit of almost a demilitarized zone, and then we saw marshals who had been working with the original organizers, groups like the Canadian Federation, or the Ontario Federation of Labour and the Labour Congress. They were in between the protesters and the police, almost acting as a buffer and trying to get people to move on and to move forward. So it's really been quite a different response. I mean, some might say, as some of the protesters have said, that even having the police in the city is a bit of an overreaction. So it really depends on who you ask. But for the most part, I've seen quite a variation of all three in terms of the police response to the crowds here.
All right. Stephen, good reporting. I know it's been a difficult afternoon, but we're going to ask you to keep going at it for a little while yet. Stephen D'Souza, right there in downtown Toronto.